Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Today, I'm going to tell you about an appliance that has become my winter survival kit. It's not a heater, it's not a blanket, but the DeLonghi all-in-one combination coffee maker. Who needs sunshine when you can have caffeine, right? To understand why I think the DeLonghi all-in-one is the second best appliance in my kitchen, I need to walk you through my journey to securing caffeine. Back when I was in my 20s, I didn't really need caffeine. It was more of a social thing. When I got into my 30s, I did more of that adulting type stuff. I had a full-time job where they provided coffee 5 days a week. I got a house, I got married. One of the things we didn't put on our registry though was a coffee machine. I don't know how we missed that. Well, my newly husband at the time held on to some of those suggestions by others, happy wife, happy life, and he listened to my pleas of him getting me a Nespresso machine for Christmas. Now, the Nespresso machine is much like the Keurig for those that are familiar. It does espresso pods and it does coffee pods, but it only does the pods that come from the Nespresso factory. You can't put in your self-made ones. They have some fancy foil film over it. Very specific, but it was really good. I am not one who cares too much about hot coffee. One of the complaints from my mother-in-law was that the Nespresso doesn't do it enough hot. But I'll tell you, it did perfect for us because at that time, it was still more of not so much of a necessity to have that much caffeine. But I'll tell you, my need for caffeine increased with the number of kids. Anybody that knows me knows that I say, I need at least 1 cup of coffee per kid. And this kind of held true. And it might have coincided with the fact that I moved to the Pacific Northwest. So moving up to the Pacific Northwest, I think, oh, the land of towering trees and endless rain. No wonder why there's such a strong coffee culture here. You need caffeine to get through those winters. And let me tell you about the winters that I had. The first couple, the Nespresso machine still got us through, no problem, because I was still working. I would go into work. But does anybody remember February 2019 when we had Snowmageddon? At that point, I had my Nespresso pods on a reoccurring shipment. And does anybody recall how they had both of the passes from the east side of the state closed to the west side of the state, and all shipments were delayed? Even Amazon Prime wasn't coming in 2 days. So this, I think, is where I noticed a slight downfall to my Nespresso machine not being able to hold on to commit to enough caffeine to my family. But we hit summer, and what happened in 2020? The COVID pandemic. Again, shipment issues. We all remember going to the grocery and not being able to buy toilet paper. Now, let me go back to the Nespresso pot. There are two ways you could get it. You could order it online, or you could go to a Nespresso boutique, which is placed at Macy's, and the closest one to Snohomish is Bellevue. So not only have I experienced winters where we get this kitchen sink weather and I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to get my shipments. Now we're in the middle of a pandemic and I can't even go into a mall and risk my life to go get my coffee. But I survived that summer. And what happened the next winter in 2021, my coffee machine broke. I didn't prepare for it. I didn't think, what should I do? Should I get a new one? Should I go for a Keurig? Those ones seem easy enough. But I've had that experience at work, and it wasn't something that I was really looking forward to. And I didn't have much time to decide. So I went ahead and got another Nespresso machine. It was the cornerstone of my kitchen for sure. But again, we ran into so many issues with the shipments. They would not come in. I was determined, I was desperate for my caffeine. I was no longer allowed to go into work. I had no reason to drive because we were in the middle of a pandemic, and I can't justify leaving my house to go get a $5 cup of coffee at the coffee stand if I'm not on my way to go somewhere else. So what did I do? I decided to ditch that Nespresso machine, and I went ahead and got the DeLonghi. So the great thing about this is it does the coffee machine and it does the espresso machine, but it also has the milk frother. One of the things about the Nespresso is I didn't really utilize the espresso pods because I couldn't find a good frother. I tried the ones that had the little spinners, I tried the battery operated one, and you just couldn't froth milk that way. And you'd have to microwave it first in order to get it warm enough, and it was just a disaster. The great thing about this is not only do I not have to use pods, but I also have a built-in milk frother. So now I have the full barista without the COVID, without the funny spelled names on the cups, and it's all in the comfort of my home. And I'm not tied to those pods. So if you haven't guessed it, I hope you understand how this DeLonghi is more than just a kitchen appliance to me. It is a symbol of comfort, convenience, and the love of caffeine. It is a testament to my ability to adapt and find joy even in the heart of our frosty winters here in the Pacific Northwest. So here's to the DeLonghi all in one, the unsung hero of my kitchen.